Hey, I'm Casey.
And I'm Lauren.
And this is
Magnum B.I, the podcast where we talk about true crime stories, but with a special twist.
Ooh. Sounds interesting. I want to listen.
Well, I'm glad you're interested because you're helping me host. This podcast is supposed to be a true crime podcast where we add a social justice commentary. So we talk about systemic injustice in the police systems, murders of disadvantaged individuals, women, people of color, and try and bring a more nuanced light to a traditionally very white piece of media.
Yep. And we're going to try to be a little more abolitionist. We're going to try not to praise prison as the end-all be-all for all of these cases.
Or cops.
Definitely. And we're going to try to overlook the Tinder notifications that Lauren's getting on her phone as we record. So
we're recording this before Valentine's Day, and we're both single,
it's really sad. Lauren, to give you context, Lauren just bought 2 pet rats.
Yeah, I'm very lonely.
She's not doing well.
Yeah, and you know what? That's okay. That's what this is all about.
We have a hobby now.
Yeah.
So it's fine. So it's going to be okay.
Yep. So
a little bit about us. We're both 22.
21.
She's
and
20.
22.
She's a baby, but
hey.
I'm 22. We live in upstate New York. We're seniors in college. We love true crime and podcasts. We've been friends for like 3 years now.
Oh my God, has it really been 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We met when she gave me a Truly.
It's
and
true.
We listened to Doja Cat.
Yeah. And he saw me shake my ass an embarrassing amount of times for a white girl with no cake. So
But she looks good doing it, as the Tinder can attest.
And that's why you're my co-host.
Exactly.
Anyways. So, tell me a little bit about your case, Casey.
Okay. So, that was good.
Thank you.
So, my case is a case that I've been obsessed with for a long time because it's an unsolved case.
Okay.
Which I love. And there are a lot of, theories, and none of them I am particularly compelled toward.
Oh, okay.
There are none of them that I'm like, oh, that's obviously the one. And I think most people agree when they hear about this case. But this is the case of Sneha Anne Philip. So Sneha Anne Philip was born in Kerala, India on October 7th, 1962. She's a Libra.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That already tells me more than I want to know.
I know, right?
Air
and it
sign.
really, for her, makes a lot of sense. As you'll see throughout this case, she just has big Libra energy.
I'm ready.
Also, Kerala, India, which is where she was born, is one of the most beautiful places in the world.
Oh, really?
It's on the southern tip of India, right on the Indian Ocean, and it's just if you look up photos of it, it's just absolutely gorgeous.
Ooh.
But she grew up in the Albany area.
Oh, no kidding. A local one.
Lauren's an Albany townie.
Yeah, that's really close to my hometown. That's
Yeah.
weird. Ooh.
She was the middle child of 3.
Okay.
Her father was a doctor. They obviously moved to America shortly after she was born.
Right.
She was very, very intelligent. She was very smart.
We love to see it.
Right? Top of her class. Very creative, very outgoing. There's also definitely a trope in true crime where every murdered woman is the most amazing woman all around.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. But with Sneha, it really seems like that was the case in a lot of ways. She was very close with her parents. She had a really good relationship with both of her parents.
Okay.
And she got her undergrad degree from Johns Hopkins University.
Okay, very nice.
Yeah, which I looked it up, has 11% acceptance rate.
Holy shit, this girl was smart.
Yeah, so she had some brains.
All right, let's go.
Come on, Sneha.
Let's go, Sneha.
She went to Chicago Medical School after graduating from college. There, she met Ron Lieberman.
Okay.
Ron was a Jewish boy from Los Angeles. He had long hair and a goatee. They had some common interests. They were both very artistic. She painted and he played guitar. So they both just kind of they were both medical students, and they both just kind of liked exploring artistic pursuits.
Okay.
Which is exciting. I wish we could find that. But Ron was a year behind her in school. So she was a year ahead of him in medical school. But they wanted to graduate together.
Okay.
So she took a year off school, and she traveled around Italy by herself.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Damn.
So that they could graduate together. So obviously they knew it was going to be like a long-term relationship. After they graduated medical school, Ron and Sneha moved to Manhattan, where they were married in May of 2000.
Oh, cute.
Yes, and she looked gorgeous at her wedding.
Oh, I bet.
Like, gorgeous. It was a Jewish-Indian wedding.
Oh, wow.
Crossover. And she just had the whole, like, Indian bridal garb on. She looked beautiful.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
She looked amazing. They moved into a one-bedroom apartment in Battery Park City, which is on the southern tip of Manhattan. Their apartment was only 2 blocks from the Twin Towers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And this, again, they were married in 2000. So this is shortly before the September 11th attacks.
Oh, God.
I should also note a couple trigger warnings for this episode. There will be discussion of sexual harassment, especially in the workplace. 9/11 plays a very big part in this, so if that is triggering for anybody listening, keep that in mind. And some, like, suicide will be touched on also.
Gotcha.
So just keep that in mind. But they moved into this one-bedroom apartment in Battery Park City. They got 2 kittens named Figga and Callie.
Oh.
I know.
Oh, my God.
I know, and they'll come into it later, too. 2 blocks from the Twin Towers. They were regulars of jazz clubs in Greenwich Village.
Okay.
They liked hole-in-the-wall sushi places. They did a lot of, like, jam band stuff with their friends. So they just really lived this, like, great, from the outside, this, like, great artistic life. I know.
When's my what's his name? Robert? When's he coming along for me?
I know.
Where's
Come
my
on, Ron. And he's a doctor too.
Oh, God, that's a dream.
Like
right?
a doctor who plays guitar.
Smart, cute, artsy.
Like sushi.
I'm single. Remember, I'm single.
We'll tag Lauren's Instagram in the bio. She is willing to drive.
That's true.
So, each of them, now that they're out of the medical school and they're doctors, they get internships at different New York City hospitals.
Gotcha.
Ron gets an internship at Jacobi Medical Center in the Bronx, and Sneha gets an internship in Cabrini Medical Center in the East Village.
Okay.
She later leaves this internship after 2 years and goes to St. Martin's Medical Center on Staten Island.
Okay.
And more about that little change later. But they're both doing internships. They're both doing very well. They're both officially doctors. And then on Monday, September 10th, 2001, so the day before the September 11th attacks,
oh boy,
Sneha had the day off work. She's 31 years old at this point.
Okay.
Ron went to work at Jacobi at 11 a.m. And Sneha kind of spent the day just tidying up their apartment. Her cousin was coming over to visit in a few days. So she got the apartment ready. She repotted some orchids that she had ordered.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, I know. And she had a 2-hour-long instant message conversation on her computer with her mom.
Oh.
Which is like a sign of the times also, that it was a 2-hour instant message conversation.
That's so cute.
I know. She didn't have a cell phone. Keep that in mind.
Okay.
During this conversation, she told her mom about a party that they'd been to the weekend before. Ron at the party was jamming on the guitar with his friends, and she said to her mom, "You should have seen Ron play the guitar this weekend." She told her mom about plans for the week ahead. She didn't give a specific date or time that she was going to do this, but she said that a friend of hers was getting married in the spring at Windows on the World,
right,
which was the restaurant on the top of the North Tower.
Oh.
And she wanted to go check out the restaurant.
Oh, no.
At some point. Yeah.
Okay.
Again, she didn't give a specific time when she was going to do this, but she mentioned to her mom that she wanted to do that.
Oh, no. I hope this isn't going where I think it's going.
It might be. I don't know if it goes there either. That's the thing.
Okay.
Sneha signs off the instant message after 2 hours, and she goes to run some errands. She's wearing a brown short-sleeve dress and sandals. Her hair is in a ponytail. She drops off her dry cleaning, and she goes to Century 21. Do you know what Century 21 is?
I'm assuming a restaurant?
No. Okay. What? You're wrong.
What is it?
So it's a discount, like store. Like, they have name brands on a discount.
Oh, like TJ Maxx?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
That's our reference point.
Okay.
But in Binghamton, at least, Century 21 is a real estate company. So whenever I would read this case, I would be like, was she buying a house? Like, why was she I was always really confused. But it's like a discount clothing store.
Gotcha.
So with Ron's card, with her husband's card, Sneha buys lingerie, a dress, pantyhose, and linens. Mm-hmm. She goes to a shoe store next door, and she buys 3 pairs of shoes with Ron's card.
Okay.
Which is like, live your life. That's awesome.
Yep. Hey, a dual income house where they're both doctors, I would be buying so many shoes.
Oh, my God. I'm sure 3 pairs of shoes was like nothing for her.
A drop in the well. Yeah. Or whatever the saying is.
The bucket, the well.
Yeah, 2 doctors, it's a well.
No,
it's a very deep well.
Good for Sneha.
Honestly, yeah.
So the last purchase on the credit card was at 6 p.m. On September 10th.
Okay.
Sneha, your TV just turned on. That's kind of terrifying.
Spooky.
Sneha is seen on the security footage at Century 21, and that's the last confirmed footage of her also.
Oh, okay.
So Ron comes home from work, again, this is the 10th, around midnight. So 6 hours after Sneha's final purchase on the card, and Sneha still wasn't home.
Oh.
This wasn't like super unusual because they had sort of conversations about this in the past. Sneha would go out drinking with her friends, and then she would crash at someone's place without telling Ron, and she didn't have a cell phone.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Ugh. Oh,
so
geez.
he was upset, like he was annoyed about it, but he wasn't really concerned because she'd done it before.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But also, like, if I'm in a marriage, and not to shit talk Sneha, but like, if I'm in a marriage and my partner isn't coming home and isn't telling me where they are, that's like, I'd be very upset.
Yeah, I would be a little wigged out. I'd be like, okay, but why don't you, I don't know, this is the early 2000s. Pick up a payphone.
Yeah.
Call me.
No.
Just tell me where you're going to be.
Like, it's New York City. There's a phone somewhere that you can use.
Just for safety's sake.
Yeah, because it's just scary. Mm-hmm. But he had to go to work early the next morning, and again, it was midnight when he got home, so he just went to bed and decided that they'd talk about it the next morning.
Right.
Ron gets up at 6 a.m. to go to work. Sneha still isn't home.
Okay.
He gets to the hospital in the Bronx at 8 a.m. Mm-hmm. At 8:46, hijackers crash American Airlines Flight 11 into the North Tower.
Right. 17
minutes later, United Airlines Flight 175 crashes into the South Tower.
Oh, God. Yep.
And now we grew up were you born in 2000 or 1999?
2000.
We like have no memory of like a pre 9/11 world.
Yep.
So it's crazy.
Yeah.
Just like thinking about it.
Yeah, I can't even conceptualize what that would look like. Our entire lives have been built in the shadow of that entire event. So
yeah, it's like scary. And I watched with this whole thing, I was watching footage of like the actual like attack and the news coverage of it and stuff. And like the first one happened, everyone thought it was an accident.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And then the second one happens, like 17 minutes later, and it's like the entire world, you know. Yeah. It's so scary.
And I mean, even like the thought that like all of that was captured on film is terrifying. Yeah. It's insane.
Really terrifying. Oof. And then again, their apartment is 2 blocks from the Twin Towers, so they have a front row seat of it.
Ugh.
So yeah, Ron is at work when this happens. Mm-hmm. He calls Sneha at the apartment just to see if she's okay, because she had the day off. He gets no answer. The city comes to a total standstill.
Oh, yeah.
Ron rushes to assist the hospital prepare for the impact.
Of course.
Because he's a new doctor. He knows a lot of people are going to be coming in now.
Yep.
After work, Ron gets in an ambulance and has them take him to Lower Manhattan. And he eventually hops on a bike and gets to go the rest of the way.
Okay.
This took to get from his hospital in the Bronx to their apartment in Lower Manhattan 6 hours.
Oh my God.
Because the city was gridlocked.
Oh, I believe it.
Like, it was just hell.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine.
No, I literally can't. I mean, even, recording this in the midst of the pandemic, like, I can't even conceptualize what that would look like. Like, Times Square at a standstill, everything, people, like, losing their minds. And
just, like, confused and scared. Like, no one had answers. Yeah.
Complete pandemonium.
Total. So, 6 hours to get home. A trip that I assume would take, like, 30 minutes otherwise.
Max, probably.
Yeah. Ron gets home, and icing on the cake, the power of the apartment had gone out for obvious reasons. They're 2 blocks from the towers. Yep. And their door was electronic. So he couldn't get inside.
Oh, no!
So his wife's not answering his phone. The world is in a state it's never been in before.
Yeah.
He just got off work.
Yep.
And he can't get in his apartment.
Oh, my God.
And he's 2 blocks from the Twin Towers. So Ron's having a bad day.
Yeah. Oh, my God. That's awful.
Ron reaches out to Sneha's family, and they haven't heard from her either.
Oh, God.
he spends the night at a friend's house because he can't get into the apartment. He had assumed that Sneha had spent the previous night with her brother or her cousin when she didn't come home, and they lived pretty close by also. But her brother or her cousin, neither of them had heard from her.
Right.
Since the day before. None of their mutual friends had seen Sneha, so just no one knew where she was. Ryan begins to start thinking that she went missing on the 10th and not the 11th because she hadn't come home the night before. So he just kind of figured, okay, she was missing yesterday. Maybe it has nothing to do with 9/11.
Yeah.
She's just missing.
Okay.
Ron and Sneha's family print out 5,000 posters with Sneha's face and a description. They post them all around the city. However, there were hundreds of thousands of posters around the city at this time for missing people.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's right.
9,000 people in the days following 9/11 were reported missing to the NYPD.
Oh my God.
So drop in the well.
Again.
Really, unfortunately, but it's true. On the 12th, so the day after the attacks, 2 days without seeing Sneha at this point, the power comes back on at the apartment and Ron's able to go up. There are no signs of Sneha having been there. The windows were left open and the entire apartment is coated in dust and debris.
Oh my God, from the buildings collapsing. Oh.
And also breathing that in too.
Oh, that's so eerie.
Yeah, I know.
I can't even imagine.
I know.
Oh.
There were no footprints in the dust indicating she wasn't there.
Gotcha.
Except their kittens had left paw prints all over.
Oh.
But then also you're like, these cats are playing in this like toxic asbestos dust, you know?
Ain't that an image?
Oh,
God. That's horrible.
I know. So Ron, the next day on the 12th, goes to the 9/11 Help Center at Lexington Avenue Armory to drop off the posters of Sneha. There he sees a camera and he asks if he can speak on air to try to help find his wife.
Right.
When they learn, however, that she went missing on the 10th and not the 11th, they lose interest.
Okay.
So Ron calls Sneha's brother, John. I know Ron and John rhyme, so that's going to be kind of annoying.
All right.
Ron's the husband, John's the brother.
Gotcha.
Ron calls Sneha's brother, John,
Yep.
and tells John that they aren't interested. So John suggests that Ron lies and say that she went missing on the 11th. Ron, Sneha's husband, doesn't really believe that this had to do with 9/11. He just doesn't think it had to do with the towers. He thinks it's just an independent event.
World's worst coincidence.
That's what this entire thing is.
Yep.
But Sneha's brother John goes to the media and tells everyone on a public forum on camera that when the attack happened, Sneha was a doctor. She was 2 blocks away. She saw it and she ran into it.
Oh, wow.
And he takes it one step further.
Okay.
He outright lies, Sneha's brother, outright lies and says, quote, I was on the phone with her and she told me that she couldn't leave because people were hurt. She said, I have to help this person. And that's the last thing I heard from her.
Oh, my God.
He admitted later that was a lie. He was not on the phone with her. In fact, Sneha and her brother John had been fighting for about 2 months, and they hadn't spoken.
Oh, my God.
Let alone on the morning of the attack, and let alone did she announce to him that she was running into the chaos to help.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that kind of made it worse, obviously, because now no one's looking for an alive Sneha. They're assuming they're going to find her eventually in the rubble.
Yeah. Oh, so it went from, like, a missing persons case to a, let's find a body thing. Yep. Which is, oh, God, that's tough. Which
isn't necessary, and wasn't helpful.
Yeah, exactly. And especially, that miscommunication with her husband absolutely isn't helping things either.
No, not even a little bit.
Yep.
So Ron, her husband, again, isn't convinced that this had to do with 9/11. John, her brother, and the rest of her family fully are.
Okay.
They buried an urn of ashes from Ground Zero. They had her name added to a list of victims, etc., etc. And they really wanted to show this narrative that Sneha was a hero. She was a doctor who saw the attack, she ran into it, and she helped, and she died in the way.
Wow.
They really tried to spin that whole narrative.
And what was the timeline for them, spinning all of this? Was this over a course of years?
Yeah, I think once they accepted it, it really took a while for them to like start adding her to memorials and all that.
Okay.
But her brother John, a few days after the attack, went on air and said that he talked to her on the phone.
Okay.
So he was really quick to jump to that conclusion.
Oh God, yeah.
Very, very quick. Ron, her husband, again, not so quick to jump to that conclusion.
Yep.
He hires a former FBI special operations agent as a private investigator.
Gotcha.
So her husband's like really trying to figure out here what happened and not just jump to that whole hero narrative.
Yeah, good on him.
Right?
Let's go, Ron.
Come on, Ron.
Let's go.
I know, and Ron might have his own problems, which we'll get to, but Ron really tried to like keep an open mind here and not jump to anything.
Gotcha.
So the private investigator, the former FBI agent, he locates CCTV footage from the morning of September 11th, so security cam footage in the lobby of their apartment building.
Oh, okay.
It's just before the attack. It's like literally minutes before the attack.
Oh, wow.
And there's a woman in the footage who could have been Sneha. She walks to the elevator, presses the button, waits a little while, and then turns around and walks back outside.
Okay.
There isn't any confirmation that this is Sneha. It's early in the morning. There's like a sun glare on the camera, and you really can't 100% tell that it's her. Her family, after hearing about this, decided, because she heard the disturbance outside, so she turned around, she ran outside, she ran toward the building to help.
Right.
She wasn't carrying shopping bags. Even though the day before she had bought all that stuff at Century 21. She'd bought 3 pairs of shoes and everything.
That's right.
And she hadn't been back to the apartment. So it's interesting that they can't confirm whether or not this is Sneha. Also interesting, Ron has never formally released the footage or anything else that the private investigator has found.
That's kind of fishy.
Huh.
Okay.
Yeah. So who's to say even that this footage really exists?
Yeah, that's really weird.
I know. Anyway, it takes a while, but the NYPD eventually gets to Sneha's case. Right. Obviously, they have a lot of other shit to deal with.
Yes.
Yep. But they get to it eventually.
Yep.
And they don't paint her in the best light.
Okay.
The NYPD dig up a bunch of shit about the past few years in Sneha's life.
Which, of course, has nothing to do with any of this.
Which has nothing to do with any of this.
Okay, I see.
Yep.
Yep.
However, a lot of it was really interesting.
Okay.
So, Sneha, for 2 years after moving to New York City, worked at Cabrini Hospital.
Okay.
After 2 years, usually those kind of internships are, I don't know this for 100% fact, but what I've heard, usually they're 3 years long.
Okay.
You have to get your contract renewed each year, but it's usually like a 3-year-long thing, generally.
Okay.
She worked there for 2 years, and then the hospital didn't renew her contract for a third. The hospital cited tardiness and issues involving alcohol.
Oh.
Sneha's family says this isn't true, and that Sneha was actually fired from Cabrini for speaking up about sexual harassment and racism in the workplace.
Oh, okay.
Now, the hospital responded to that and said that there was no record of any allegations formally being made.
Of course.
And now we got to keep in mind this is a pre-Me Too world.
Yes.
So the odds of her being able to like formally, especially as an intern and a woman and an Indian woman, to be able to like formally, write that she was sexually harassed and that there was racism in the workplace, that would have been really difficult for her.
Yeah, and it would have been scary. I mean, I'm thinking, any random hospital in New York City, they're going to be like writing it off.
Oh,
completely.
For sure. And it can't be easy to get those jobs.
No,
either.
Not at all.
Not even a little bit.
So they're like, oh, you're ungrateful. You're, pre-Me Too, trying to get attention or something. Completely victim blaming.
Exactly. And for them not even to say like, I mean, they might have said this, but from what I read, it didn't even sound like they said that it didn't happen. They just said there wasn't formal documentation of it.
Oh,
so it's
of course.
Come on.
Okay.
Anyway, in spring of 2001, so a few months before the attack, just after she was, quote unquote, fired from Cabrini, she's out with some coworkers, some other Cabrini interns. She gets into some sort of an altercation at the bar, not sure what it really was, and she spends the night in jail.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, small sexual assault and harassment trigger warning here. While in jail that night, Sneha files a criminal complaint against one of her fellow Cabrini interns and claims that they groped her while she was at the bar.
Oh, that would make sense.
So it's likely that's obviously why the altercation started in the first place. Get a load of this, though.
Uh-oh.
The Manhattan DA's office does a really, like, quick, quote-unquote, investigation and accuses Sneha of filing a false report. And then says that they'll drop the false reporting charges if she recants her original allegation.
Do we have any information on who this other intern was?
No, but apparently he, or whoever it was, cleared up really quick to the point where the police were like, oh, that's a false allegation. Within like 12 hours. So that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I have to wonder if this was some cop's kid, you know?
Right? Or something like that.
Yeah, because that's the only reason post Me Too, the only reason I can think of where they're like, oh, you're crazy, you know?
But it's also a brown woman
yes.
and likely a white man. I don't know that for a fact, but likely a white man.
Yep.
So,
fair assumption to make, unfortunately.
I know. It really, especially 2001.
Yep.
But anyway, the DA's office, again, says that if she recants her statement and says that she wasn't actually sexually assaulted or groped or whatever, that they won't charge her with false reporting. Sneha refuses to do that.
Let's go, Sneha!
I know! Sneha's like, no. And she spends a second night in jail because of the false reporting.
Oh, so they completely tried to ice her out.
So they tried to ice her out. Isn't that disgusting?
Unfortunately, not surprised.
I know, but that made me so mad.
Well, good on her for sticking to her guns.
Yeah.
That's really incredible.
That must have been scary as hell,
so
too.
scary.
Yeah.
I literally have no reason to be scared of cops, and I'm terrified.
No, I know.
Of, police and anything to do with that, because you give people like that any modicum of power over other people, and they will completely abuse it. And this is, a case in point where that is happening.
Yeah. And they had so much power over her in the moment. They were like, you can get out of this jail cell if you say that you weren't actually groped. And she's like, no, I was groped. And then they made her stay in jail. Like, that's so powerful for her to be able to do that.
That just reminded me of the what was it, the Central Park 5, where they just completely, manipulated and scared a bunch of children into putting out false claims.
Yeah. With
the promise that they would get out scot-free. So, a history of doing that. Yeah. Thanks, NYPD.
NYPD, baby. After this incident, after her 2 nights in jail and the groping at the bar, Sneha starts spending a lot of time at lesbian bars.
Okay.
Particularly ones known for having like a rough and tumble crowd.
Okay.
Now, I didn't do research into the specific bars. I don't know why people say that they're a rough and tumble crowd. I think we can talk about that later. We could talk about lesbian bars themselves for 3 hours.
I was gonna say, they just see a group of, women that aren't interested in men. They're like, these scary dykes,
Yeah, no, literally. She's in leather.
They're like, oh God, they have short hair. Oh God.
They're gonna beat them up.
No.
No, so, yeah. She's spending a lot of time at lesbian bars.
Okay.
According to court transcripts, Sneha, quote, often stayed out all night with individuals not known to her husband, whom she met at various bars. Police reports claim that John, Sneha's brother, walked in on Sneha having sex with his girlfriend.
Whoa!
And the later mother of his child. So Sneha sleeping with her brother's girlfriend.
Oh my God.
John vehemently denies ever having said this and that this ever happened, and says that the police made it up.
Oh my God.
Now, do I think the police had the capacity to make this up? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, we do know John is a liar because he lied and said he talked to Sneha on the morning of 9/11 and that she was going to run into the Twin Towers. So I don't know what to believe with that. But Sneha's drinking was getting so bad that her new internship at St. Vincent's required her to see a substance abuse counselor.
Okay.
When she started skipping the meetings, she was temporarily suspended from her second internship.
Ouch.
Yeah. So it's getting really out of hand.
Yeah, no kidding.
On the morning of September 10th, the last day Sneha was seen, the day she had off work, Sneha actually appeared in court and pled not guilty of the false police report, claim, whatever. Ron came with her to court that day before he had to go to work.
Right.
According to the police report, the couple got into a big fight at the courthouse because Ron was upset that Sneha was abusing drugs and alcohol and that she was seeing other women.
Oh, wow.
In that police report, Sneha apparently stormed out of the courtroom and left Ron behind.
Oh, God. And this is in reference to the case where they're like, oh, if you drop the charges, we'll let you go,
yes.
right?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yep.
And that court date was the last day that they saw her alive, the same day she went to Century 21 and all that stuff.
Okay.
Ron, however, denies that they ever argued in the courthouse. And he denies that Sneha was bisexual.
Okay.
Now, this is
okay.
This is really funny. Ron acknowledges that Sneha had been frequenting lesbian bars. He knows that. He acknowledges that.
Yeah.
But it's because she didn't want to get hit on, especially after she was sexually assaulted by a coworker.
Fair.
I understand.
Yeah.
I think that's totally valid. I mean, I'm coming at this from a very different place, but, like, I don't prefer going to gay bars all the time just because I don't love being hit on every night. Especially when I'm in a relationship. There are just some nights I want to go out and not get hit on.
Oh, yeah, completely.
So I get that, and especially after being sexually assaulted.
Yeah, 100%.
At a bar.
Yep.
So I understand that. However, Ron says that Sneha had spent the night with women who she met at these bars.
Okay.
But they would only go back to an apartment, listen to music, and make art before falling asleep. To which in my notes I wrote, okay, Ronnie.
Yeah, literally. I mean, you can call it making art, you know?
It's
there's
kind of art.
With that.
Apparently Sneha had come home before covered in paint, like full body covered in paint.
Hot.
To which Ron was just like, oh, she had a passionate art making night.
I'm going to start calling it that. What'd you do last night? Oh my God, how did the thing with your Tinder hookup go? We had a passionate night of art making.
That's hopefully you on Valentine's Day.
Fingers crossed.
I really hope so, Lauren. I'm really hoping.
Hey, for the both of us, fingers crossed.
Thank you. In November of 2005, a Manhattan judge denied Ron's petition to set Sneha's death date as September 11th, 2001, and instead her death date was set as September 10th.
Okay.
Now, you might be wondering, why all of a sudden would Ron want her to have died on September 11th, when this whole time he was saying she didn't die on September 11th, she was missing the day before, this has nothing to do with the Twin Towers,
it
was her family who was so caught up in the hero theory.
Yeah.
Well, if a 9/11 death certificate could be produced showing that she died on 9/11, Ron, her husband, would be entitled to collect from the 9/11 compensation fund.
Are you serious?
And due to her age and earning potential, an attorney claimed that her, what Ron would get from this fund would be between $3 and $4 million.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. But there had to be court proof documentation that she died on September 11th.
I was so Team Ron.
I know.
Oh, that sucks.
And a part of me gets it.
Yeah.
Because it's like you lost her. This is in 2005. So 4 years have gone by at this point.
Yeah.
The chances of her coming back are very low. I understand it. But it's just really, Ron?
It still seems dirty.
It just seems dirt, right?
Yeah.
It just makes me want to wash my hands.
Ugh.
Yeah. The judge cited that it was just as likely for her to have walked away from her life or gotten murdered on the 10th as it was likely for her to have ran into the towers to help.
Yeah, that's true.
Which
Because there's no proof. Yeah.
No, exactly. I totally agree with.
Yep.
It's now been 20 years.
Yep.
We're in 2022 and nothing.
Wow.
Ron is remarried and has children. He's still close with Sneha's family. After this whole thing happened, he actually moved upstate to live with her parents and save some money and get in a better headspace. They still remain in contact even though he's married with kids. And there's been no sign of Sneha since September 10th, 2001.
Wow. That's insane. I mean, I can, understand murders happening or disappearances happening in the 70s or the 80s, and there's not cameras everywhere and phones and what have you. So to have something like this happen in such recent memory and there to be zero evidence after 20 years is insane.
Insane. In our lifetime.
Yeah.
You know, like this happened in our lifetime. It's really crazy.
Wow.
So, some theories.
Yeah.
These are all like my theories.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the internet has like provided some of these, but like these are from my mouth, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Yep.
Before I get into the theories, I want to say someone working at Century 21, the discount store that she was at, the last confirmed like sighting of her on camera, claims that she was with another Indian woman, who she introduced as her friend.
Okay.
However, all the security footage that actually shows her in the store, and it is like her in this footage, shows her browsing alone.
Okay.
So this one person said that she was with another woman. They could have been confused. They could have thought about somebody else. But there's no like footage of this other woman. And this woman's never come forward and said, I was with Sneha that day.
Okay.
Keep that in mind because all of the theories kind of touch on that in some way.
Okay.
But again, that's not confirmed. I don't think it holds a lot of weight, to be honest. Especially just because the footage doesn't show another person.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Okay.
Theory 1, 9/11.
Yeah.
Which is the one, honestly, that most people online think is like, is it. Obviously, her family thinks that it's it.
Right.
Her family's always thought that that was the answer.
Right.
She was a doctor. She only lived a couple blocks from the towers. So most people believe that she heard the chaos, she turned around, and she ran toward it.
Right.
In the if the CCTV footage in the apartment lobby is really her, it suggests that she heard the scuffle while waiting at the elevator. She turned around and went outside.
Right.
I personally don't know if that's super likely.
Right.
I'm just going to say. I mean, my fight or flight very much leans on the flight side. I don't know about you. But like, I just feel like everyone online's like, well, she's a doctor. So it was instinct.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true.
That is, well, I guess it depends. You know, after going through like however many years of medical school, I can see where that comes from.
Yeah.
I know, like, I have family members that are doctors, and one personal experience I can draw upon, my dad works in environmental health and safety, and we were at the beach on a family vacation, I think like 5 or so years ago, and there was this lady on the beach that just collapsed for whatever reason, and, you know, my uncle, who is a doctor, and my dad, who, you know, that's his job, without a second's hesitation, just ran for it.
Really?
Yeah. So I can see where that comes from, you know, it just depends.
Yeah. I get that. You see it and you know what to do.
Yeah, exactly. So especially if you have like medical training of some kind. So I can see where they're coming from that.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to hear the other theories as well.
Yeah, for sure. Also, she told her mom more to support the 9/11. She told her mom that she was going to check out windows on the world.
Right.
She didn't give a clear date on when she was going. I also don't even know if they were open at 8 a.m., let alone without a reservation.
Oh, true.
I mean, if people kept proposing that, I assume someone knows that they must have been open at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
But that just seems kind of weird.
Yeah.
And it's a possibility that if she truly was with another person at Century 21, maybe this person worked in or was somehow involved with the Twin Towers and Sneha went there with them. Kind of a long shot, but maybe. And a lot of people about this theory, like to refute this theory, say, oh, well, they never found a body. They never found Sneha's body.
Right.
There are still over 1,000 unidentified remains from the attacks.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know this, but fires at the site continued through the end of December.
What?
For over 2 months, fires continued.
Is that like jet fuel or something?
I guess. It's just crazy. That powerful. So her body likely would have been incinerated, which is so dark. But
yeah, that's eerie.
She was also likely wearing diamond jewelry, which could have withstood the temperatures.
Right.
But that's like searching for a needle in a haystack, really.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow.
So a lot of people lean on that theory. I see some issues with it, but I see issues with all of these. So theory 2.
Gotcha.
She was killed.
Okay.
Sneha had a habit of going home with random strangers, as we know. That doesn't always end well. I'm not victim blaming. We've all made those decisions after a night of drinking, especially when you're going through a hard time. But especially if drugs or alcohol were involved, she could have overdosed or been killed, and her body could have been hidden and never discovered in the chaos of the next day.
Right.
Maybe the person at Century 21 was involved somehow. They met in the morning or the late afternoon, essentially. And then, maybe went to a bar, went out, maybe something bad happened after that.
Right.
And that's especially because no one's ever come forward and said that they were the person at Century 21. So maybe they're trying to hide something. Or allegedly, big allegedly, because these people are still alive, but maybe it was Ron or John, her husband or her brother. People online don't suggest this one very often. And the police really quickly ruled out Ron, her husband, as a suspect. I don't know why. Probably because he's a white guy.
Yeah, that's weird, because usually in, domestic violence cases, the person closest to the person that's missing or dead is the first person they're like, okay, suspect number one.
Always, which makes sense, and usually turns out to be the case.
Unfortunately.
So totally makes sense. But they were really quick to rule out Ron as a suspect. Clearly, however, Ron and Sneha had been arguing a lot lately, even if Ron denies that they fought in the courthouse on the morning of the 10th. And Sneha was clearly having affairs.
Yeah.
He can doubt that, but Sneha was clearly having at least one extramarital affair.
Yeah.
Also, Sneha and John, her brother, like I said, were fighting for months before the disappearance. And then he was really quick to very quickly claim that she died in the fires in 9/11, and she's a hero, and that's it.
That's right. He didn't even say, oh, she's missing. He immediately went, she's dead.
Yep.
That's weird.
Really quickly.
That is weird.
Yeah, that's really weird. When you're looking for someone, you don't know where your sister is, and then you really quickly just come to a conclusion.
My first thought would immediately be, she's missing.
Yeah.
I would never be like, oh, my sister's dead.
Yep.
Never.
Like a few days after.
No.
Even if you suspected that she went into the towers and she died there.
Yeah.
Don't just go on camera and say she's dead.
Yeah.
That hinders the entire effort to find her.
Absolutely not. And, not to get a little spiritual, but I would never speak that into existence.
Yeah, no, I know.
I would be like, obviously she's like around the corner or something. I would be in denial forever because family is like that. You don't go, they're dead.
Yep. You don't just sign on to that. I know.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
With a capital A.
And a capital Y for that matter. Because these people are alive.
Yes.
But, and again, people online don't really claim that a lot. The John one, I haven't seen, her brother, I haven't seen online at all.
Right.
I just kind of came up with that one. But,
yeah.
Anyway, theory 3.
Okay.
Trigger warning. Sneha committed suicide.
Okay.
Sneha was clearly unhappy with her life.
Yes.
She had lost 2 internships at this point. She had formally not been asked to return to one, and she'd gotten temporarily suspended from another. She was drinking a lot.
Yep.
She was going to lesbian bars and going home with different women who she didn't know. Not to say that that's like a bad thing, but just it shows that she was not content with what her life was with Ron.
Yeah, being married to, a white guy doing the perfect I'm a doctor thing, trying to keep up that facade. I can see where you're going with that.
There's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure.
Yes.
Yeah. But she did make plans with her cousin for that week. Like I said, she was cleaning her apartment so that her cousin could come over that week.
That's true.
And she spoke to her mother about wanting to visit Windows on the World someday before the wedding.
Yeah, that's true.
So she did have plans.
Yeah, people generally don't make plans like that if they're planning on, you know, committing suicide.
Yeah. Especially like the cousin one. Because you don't want to get someone's hopes up like that, you know? And from what I've seen, at least, no one's ever commented on Sneha expressing any kind of suicidal thoughts.
Okay.
And theory 4, the final theory, and this is the one that's really kept me in this case and hooked me on this case.
Okay.
Even though I don't think it's the most convincing one, that Sneha ran away.
Go on. Go on.
Some Gone Girl shit.
Okay.
Literally. So Sneha clearly was living some sort of a double life.
Yes.
To what extent that double life was is up for debate.
Right.
But she was, going out and meeting people and going to bars and, was sleeping away from her husband and not telling him where she was. She was just clearly having this different life. She may have seen September 11th as a great opportunity to leave town and start a new, happier life and fold in under the chaos, and everyone would forget about her.
Interesting.
Because, like I said, it took the NYPD a long time even to look into it. There was just so much going on.
Right.
So she just might have thought that she'd get under the radar. Mm-hmm. However, it would have been incredibly, incredibly difficult to leave the city in the days following 9/11.
Yeah.
Like I said, it took Ron 6 hours to get from the Bronx to Lower Manhattan. Mm-hmm. So leaving the city, she probably would have had to hide out for a while until she could travel with less restrictions.
Yeah.
She also left her passport, her ID, and most of her belongings, all of her belongings, at the apartment.
Huh.
Which might have been on purpose.
Yeah,
if you're trying to start a
kidding.
new life.
Yeah.
But that's of note.
Yeah.
And I feel like these runaway theories are always really fun and they give you some hope, but they usually don't hold a lot of water.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's something to think about just given, you know, the circumstances.
Yeah.
I think it's just really something interesting.
Yeah, especially since there's like zero physical evidence that, you know, she was anywhere near the Twin Towers or even like, you know, anywhere in New York City.
Yeah. That's the reason why I really don't like the Twin Towers theory is I feel like just because you're a doctor who lives 2 blocks from the Twin Towers, like I know statistically that's probably the likely answer, but it's like I just don't think that's like an obvious given.
Yeah, that's true.
I really don't.
Do we know what kind of doctor she was? Because if she was working in like a trauma unit or something that deals with something of that nature, that might make more sense.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. She was an internal medicine doctor.
Okay.
Don't know what it means.
Yeah, okay.
I clicked on the little Wikipedia internal medicine hyperlink and I couldn't understand what they were saying.
Too many big words.
Yeah. I'm a sociology and gender studies major, so.
So, yeah, I mean, maybe, you know, if that was something that would entail, like, something that's less high stress, something of that caliber, maybe, you know, she wouldn't rush in, like people are saying. So I see where you're coming from with that.
No, that's a really, because, like, an ER doctor.
Yes.
And, like, a paramedic versus, like, a gynecologist.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Not to say gynecology isn't intense as fuck, but, like.
They probably wouldn't rush in.
No,
you know, guns blazing.
I fully agree.
Yep.
But yeah, so I honestly don't know. All 4 of those theories I could see being the case, and all 4 of those theories I could fully see not being the case. And that's just why I've been so intrigued by Sneha for so long, because I don't think there's any theory that stands out.
Right.
So that's the case of Sneha Anne Philip. It's been 20 years, and we still don't know.
Wow.
Oh, her name also was added. Let me see if I can find it. Her name was added to the 9/11 memorial at Ground Zero. So, like, the fountain, the big, like, square fountain. Her name is on South Pool Panel S66. And she's honored at several other memorial sites across the state and the world, the country. Ron never received any money from the compensation fund, and it's now closed. And her family still really stands by the fact that she died a hero at 9/11.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's intense. I didn't expect all the twists and turns and layers.
And the lesbian bars.
Yeah. That's a really good one to start us off.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So that's Sneha.
Wow, that's cool.
Thank you. I got most of my information for this case from an article in New York Magazine called Last Seen on September 10th by Mark Fass, and by a YouTube video called What Happened to Sneha Philip, MIDWEEK Mystery by Georgia Marie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love to cite those sources.
We a humanities major.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. That was really interesting. I learned so much about Sneha, and I'm really excited to record our next episode, which is going to be a case study into the boozing barber, Gilbert Paul Jordan, who is a serial killer in British Columbia. So stay tuned.
It sounds so... I don't know anything about it, except for the brief, like, sentence you told me, and it sounds really interesting. And I'm very excited to hear Lauren read a case.
I know. I'm hoping I can do it justice. You gave me a hard bar to keep up.
You got this. You got a big brain.
I hope so. I try.
Thank you for listening. We decided to explain quickly what the name of our podcast means, and then to play a fun game in which I guess Lauren's middle name.
Yep.
So.
Okay, so Magnum B.I. You know, we're playing on the old detective show Magnum B.I, which of course is about a ex-military guy who becomes a private investigator, and we're trying to reclaim that, giving it a social justice queer angle, where instead of P.I, it's B.I because we're both bisexual.
Woo!
Exciting.
Exciting. We love it. I don't know Lauren's middle name.
Yep. That's the point of the game.
Which, out of context. All I know is that it starts with a B.
Yes.
And I know one other person who knows it, and he won't tell me.
Yep, I invoked the sacred law. I was like, you're my best friend. You're not allowed to tell Casey what my middle name is, so he has to guess now.
And I get one guess per episode.
Yep.
I'm looking at her.
You're not getting any other hints.
I tried Beatrice and I tried Bernadette.
Yep.
But Brenda?
Nope, that's my mother's name.
Come on! Well, I guess we'll try again next week. You better be here for it.
All right, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Lauren.
I'm Casey.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Magnum B.I. Bye.
Bye.